thank you to IDI for having us, and we have the honor of having the first talk of these IDI talks. The topic today is related to new energy vehicles. This is a new trend that's taking everything by storm. In helping me in analyzing this difficult topic, I have some of the best icons in the automotive world. So before we go into the topic, I would like to ask each of the participants to spend a couple of minutes to introduce themselves and their company so that we understand exactly how they will help us in understanding the new energy vehicles wave in the market. So let's start by alphabetical order. Brembo first. Andrea, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Andrea Raviolo. I'm the CFO of Brembo in China, and I'm also the CEO of the newly constituted friction technology company of Brembo in Jinan. You cannot see a fancy background on me just because I'm quarantined, just because I was in Jinan. So this is why I cannot be there in presence, and I miss it very much. 1 minute to present Brembo. Brembo is a company that has its root in Italy, and it is actually well renowned as the leader in braking system for any application from the motorbike to the performance that encompasses a motorbike and, for example, Formula One and other very, very fancy competition. And then it is also active for light commercial vehicle, producing disc and calipers, pads, and recently we announced to the market a new artificial intelligent braking system called Sensify.
Thank you, Andrea. Continuing in alphabetical order, Comau, please, Wallace, introduce yourself and your company.
Present here, Comau. Comau belongs to Stellantis Group. Stellantis Group is an automotive company, and Comau is mainly do the smart manufacturing system and also the manufacturing products such as robotics. So we have mainly two businesses. One is the system business, doing the automotive production line, including the body assembly, powertrain assembly, electrification, and also powertrain machining production line for all the OEM around the world. So Comau most likely is the #1 leading supplier for this kind of production line. So we are very proud of this kind of strengths. And for NEV, now is a big trend. So Comau did a lot of NEV related production line, such as battery assembly, e-motor, and also related EDS. So it is a very strong activity of Comau in this area. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Wallace. Continuing, let's go to Maserati today.
Born in Rome, Roman origin. I started my career in the luxury business in Switzerland with watches, so a little bit different. And then I moved to luxury cars in 2007 with Maserati. Starting from 2015, I arrived in China, and I'm responsible for after-sales business for Greater China, for Maserati China. Maserati is a super luxury car brand founded in Bologna in 1914 by Alfieri Maserati. Alfieri was the youngest of a family of 6 brothers, and 5 of them used to work in the family business, so in the Maserati company. The 6th one, Mario, was the artist, and is the one who designed the trident, inspired by the statue of Nettuno in Bologna. Our motto is powered by passion, innovative by nature, and unique by design. And this is what inspires us in every new car we design. Our current lineup is comprised of, let's say, in order of appearance, Quattroporte, Ghibli, Levante, and now the newborn, the everyday exceptional Grecale. And then we have our super sport car, MC20. MC20 marks really a new era for Maserati for 3 reasons. First of all, because it mounts the brand new V6 engine, completely developed and produced in Modena. Second, because it's a new sports car. After many years, Maserati was out of this segment. 20 years ago was the MC12 launch with its Stradale version, so street legal version, but too aggressive to really be enjoyed. And third, return to race, because next year with MC20, Maserati will go back to racing.
Great. Let me stop you there. We just have a short introduction, and then we can talk more about the iconic brand. Let's go now to introduction of Radici, please.
I'm Alberto Sessolo. I'm the country manager of Radici Plastic Suzhou. We are a company that is part of RadiciGroup. We are an Italian multinational owned family company, which is active in 3 main business. Chemicals, we produce chemical intermediates, and we produce nylon 6 and 6/6. We have a second division that is the synthetic fibers, so for different application. And the third division, that is the one that I represent here in China, is the high-performance polymers. Basically, we are producing engineering plastics that is used by our customers for injection molding and extrusion in different sectors, so automotive, electronic, consumer goods. We are a group of around 3,000 people around the world. We have a presence in 30 countries, turnover around 1.5 billion euro. And we have a project of expansion, especially in our division. We are building our new factory here in China. We just built a new factory in India. And this is the trend of our group to focus on the emerging market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Last but not least, UFI Filters. Francesca, please introduce yourself and your company.
Thank you, Carlo. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Francesca Bonesi. I'm the project manager director in APAC for UFI. UFI is an Italian company founded in 1971 and is a leader in filtration and thermal management worldwide. Our presence in the world in 5 different continents, and we have more than 20 production plants around the world with 4,000 employees. We are making product for passenger vehicle, for truck, heavy duty, for F1, that is very fashion to say, and also for hydraulic industry. You can look on our product on the side because it's very close to the panel. So if you turn, you can see our product. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Now, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have a complete value chain from Maserati, which is the cars that the consumers buy, all the way to the production system and to raw materials. So I will kindly ask you, my fellow panelists, to help me understand this market that is valued at 5 million vehicles today, and it will reach by 2025 somewhere around 12 to 15 million vehicles. This is replacing the internal combustion engine to the new energy vehicles, so fuel cell and battery operated vehicles. And it's a little bit the end of an era. If you think that the internal combustion engine was first patented around the beginning of 1800s, that's around 200 years of engines. And this new engine is taking everything by storm. So let's start to analyze a little bit this new trend. And let's start with somebody who's very close to the consumers. How does the change from internal combustion engine to new energy vehicles, from performance to infotainment, change your products? And I would like to ask this question to Alessandro Maserati. Please.
Actually, the new energy vehicles is growing at an incredible pace in China, powered mainly by the demand of the customers, the incredible amount of investments, and also the infrastructure that is making this possible, so the charging network and the new technology available. The change in the consumer preference is mainly driven by the consumer profile. We see that above all in the luxury segment, our customers are younger and younger. And this millennial or Generation Z customers are very much concerned for the environment, for the pollution. And they also are looking for new ideas, new technology, and new also driving experience. That's why, as you correctly said, moving from driving a car to enjoying or having a complete experience, a multisensory experience in the car. At Maserati, we embrace this challenge, like every challenge, with the Maserati Folgore program. Folgore stands for lightning in Italian. Next year, we will debut with the new Gran Turismo, which is the first in the history of Maserati fully electric vehicle. By 2025, we will have an electric version for every Maserati model, and by 2030, we plan to have all our models full electric. In this customer's view, as we said, the infotainment is very important, so the experience in the car. That's why in China, Maserati decided to start a partnership with Tencent to develop an infotainment system that is really user-friendly for our very demanding customers. To meet even more our customer high expectations, we launched also the Fuoriserie program that allows our customer to really design, like you're on a blank paper sheet, put on the paper sheet their dreams, the car that they want, just following their preference.
Wow, great. The design changes for, I guess, all of the parts of a car. Now, through the wheels, we can usually see braking systems, red ones, yellow ones. So let me ask to Brembo, how does this trend change the design of your products? And does it change the braking power? Andrea, you're in mute. You're in mute. Open your microphone.
Yeah, just having problem with the mouse. Okay, so I said I'm very happy to answer this question because indeed there are some changes that are probably not noticeable to the end customer, but they are very much noticeable to, let's say, to the technical people. Okay, in China in particular, we are serving, just to put this in context, the main player of this new energy vehicle. So the player like Tesla, BYD, Xiaopeng, NIO, Polestar, etc. Okay, and basically they demand from us two things. One, the ability to design and to support them, and number two, the ability to reduce the weight of the caliper and of the disc in order to make sure that the car has less weight and then grant to the end user some kilometers more. Okay. Not only, we assist also in the design. Another trend that is particularly important on the Chinese player. They are moving from a regular car, we can say a premium car, to sport car equipped with very high powerful electric motors. Let's say we can have a good result in serving this customer because we also have a line of calipers that can serve them. And what we see from them is that they want from us a more innovative design in terms of shape and in terms of geometry. They want from us a new kind of design in terms of color. And you can see in the new IM our orange color, okay, calipers. And moreover, for the disc, instead they are very much pushy into the let's say reduction of the overall weight of the disc. The trend in the design is also, especially for the Chinese market, is also going to other kind of protection to rust. And there's the first one that is related in particular for the disc with a process that is a surface treatment called ferronitrocarburation that normally is not used in Europe, but is very much popular here in China and probably in US. And then after that, what basically the market is asking to us is to have a design that is granting them the highest quality and the lowest cost per piece. That's exactly what they want. And this is very much particular seen in the Chinese player. They are very much sensible on that.
Thank you, Andrea. Now we're going from the outside to the inside of the vehicle. Engines are totally different. How does UFI change their product from the fact that we're no longer operating on internal combustion engines, but we're going on to electric battery operated engine? Francesca, could you help us understand that?
As I mentioned before, UFI was born as a leader in filtration. And in particular, we are the leader for oil module and fuel filter for engines that are diesel. With the Dieselgate, with the limitation of US for the diesel engine and electrification, you can imagine that all of the requests of the diesel engine in the market is dramatically decreased. And also the development of the diesel engine is practically becoming quite zero. So diesel engine will last in the future for application like heavy duty, like truck and so on. But for the passenger vehicle, we have to move and change direction. And this one is what UFI did in the past. And we transfer our know-how in developing heater exchanger applied for engine to heat exchange that we can apply for transmission. So we were able in the past 4 years to approach the traditional car maker and the new BEV maker, try to let them know that we are able to make and propose a e-axle cooler that is a product that inside the compact solution of e-motor, transmission, and inverter to cool down the temperature of the transmission oil. And today I can say, I'm very happy to say that we are almost one of the leaders in China for this kind of product. And after that, we move forward and we go also in the battery thermal management. And we have as a new product, as chiller, liquid cooler condenser that are two of the main components that are in the refrigerant cycle to cool down the temperature of the battery. This is our evolution to face this kind of challenge. And with electrification, we also find another new opportunity. The new car maker for electrical vehicle are much more attention, as before was also mentioned, for the air purification inside the cabin. The air quality inside the cabin is not anymore an option, is a must. So thank you also to the fact that the front part of the car have more space, the new BEV car maker are giving possibility to install in the car the HEPA filter or the carbon panel filter, which are able to purify the cabin air to give the opportunity of the user to have air inside the cabin that is without pollution, without dust, without NOx, and in some cases also without bacteria. So it's very important evolution. And also in this case, because we are media expert, we were able to develop EPA media filter and the carbon panel. Thank you, Carlo.
Thank you, Francesca. We have gone from consumers to suppliers. Let's go now to raw materials. Now, in supply, there is these years we've had some difficulties related to COVID, to logistics. How does Radici confront this problem? What can you tell us, Alessandro, about how you have lived these past couple of difficult years?
We have been able to face this problem starting from our motto, that is to be local. So we are a global company with local manufacturing, so we are serving local customers. But a few years ago, also in China, we started to localize our supply chain. It has not been an easy process because it took time. There is a lot of time spent and also money and resources in validation, not only locally, but also in our headquarters. But I would say that in the long term, this has bring a lot of advantage, especially in the past 2 years. Wherever it was not completely possible to localize the supply chain, we have been able, in any case, to work and to have for each raw material at least 2 suppliers validated, 1 local and 1 global. And in the few cases where this was not possible for some reason, there are some raw materials that are very specific, some raw materials that are covered by patent, so we cannot use a local supplier. In that case, the fact to be a global company with different manufacturing plant in different countries, using the same raw material coming from the same supplier, from the same production site, help us also to handle logistic issue, working and playing with the allocation between different plants. So we have been very flexible in addressing this specific raw material where it was needed, and this has helped us a lot. I would say that the localization is a trend. I know that many companies in the last 2-3 years has to work a lot on that if they didn't do before. But this is also thanks to the level of quality of a local supplier that has increased a lot. So now locally we can find suppliers that can guarantee a very high quality standard. I must say that in our business, for the nylon business, we are also a little bit lucky because China is the biggest producer in the world of nylon 6. It has capacity that could cover the worldwide needs. And also on the nylon 6 value chain, where in the past we had several problems, in China are ongoing a lot of investments. And this will also help in the future to avoid the issues that we had maybe 3-4 years ago due to some issue in the supply chain.
Thank you, Alessandro. You talked a lot about local. Now, local means Chinese automotive manufacturers. And I would like to hear from Comau, how do they cater to the local Chinese manufacturers?
I think first we need to talk about the China market characteristic. I think they can be described as 3 fast. China market is 3 fast. First fast is growth speed is very fast. And this year, according to this data, is already 5 million NEV production already in past 10 months. The growth rate is more than 101%. So it's the highest in the global. And also in the first 3 quarters, China market account for 62% of the whole global NEV production. European only 23, North America only 10. So China is the driver for NEV for the whole world. So this is the first character. Second fast is the brand change fast. Before is Wei Xiaoli, the Neo, Xiaopeng, Li Xiang. Currently, BYD and the traditional OEM is catching up. And the third fast is the product launch and the product cycle become very, very fast. So this fast drive the company like Comau is totally different as before. The number one is China become the center of the world. In Comau itself, Comau before is the worldwide, the European technology go to China. Currently is opposite, is China technology go to Europe. Now the NEV excellence center now is located in Shanghai. We have, I think, 300 people focus on NEV. And we do the battery assembly line, e-motor assembly line, which is better than European, better than USA. So they need, when they have this kind of project, they come to Comau China first. Comau China then support Comau USA, Comau EMEA to do the project. This is the very interesting trend. And secondly, as the product launch become very, very quick, the brand change frequently, the top brand change frequently, the customer demand is different. So how to meet this kind of customer demand? So as a production system, we need to be, how to say, customized and standardized, meet together, combine customized customer demand, and together with our product standardized. Because one production line normally including more than 50 stations and more than, I think, more than 30,000 equipment and components. So product line is a very complicated system. Every project will need normally Comau project is, one project is around 500 million, this kind of size. And it's a very big to do production line to manufacturing around 100,000 vehicle or even the 300,000 engine or 300,000 of capacity of the e-motor. This is the typical of our product line. So very complicated. How to meet the quick launch requirement and also the different customer requirement. Our production line needed to be very flexible. That means we need to be enable our internal competence to meet this kind of flexibility. The one enable is our digital platform inside Comau. We break through the how to say, the blocks between the PLM system to the SAP system. So everything is digitalized from design perspective. And in the last phase, if we use the second point, we use the simulation and the virtual commissioning, this kind of technology. When the production line being designed, we can do the simulation on our computer, how it to be applied in the real plant. So this is the second point. The third point is we need to be, every equipment needed to be modelized as much as possible. Most likely 90% of our machine is the same. Only 10% of the machine is customized by the customer project. So combine this 90 together with the 10, we can meet the customized demand. So this main three is our core competence to enable our technology to meet the customized demand and our standardized our products. So, and after this as a good news, this year we received a lot of customer awards, and we received the awards from NIO, which is the best craftsman award, 就是匠心最佳匠心奖 craftsman award. We also received the award from the Volvo best supplier. We received 2 awards from the Geely for the best supply award. So I think Comau did a good job in China market. We also did a good job from China to support the global. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Wallace. We've gone from consumer all the way to production system. Now let's go backwards. Let's start again with Wallace. Can you tell us a little bit about your R&D? Wallace. Talk a little bit about your R&D and how you
I just already talked about my R&D.
Okay, then Thank you. Didn't realize that. So let's go back to Radici. Continue to talk about R&D. What about your R&D? You talked previously about nylon 666. How does your product change?
Yeah, there is a trend that we are assisting in the market, and it is also a consequence of this switch from traditional engine to new energy vehicle. That is also the demand to use recycled material inside the car. So the usage of plastic that is coming from process of recycling, both from post-industrial or post-consumer. This is a trend. This is driven by target that each OEM has, target of sustainability. We all know that there is, and I think everybody of us heard sometimes talk about the pollution given by the plastic. I always say that the plastic doesn't end up in the sea or alone, or doesn't end up on the subsoil alone. So the point of using recycled plastic is also helping our environment, first. But on the other hand, we need to consider two factors. The first one, availability of recycled plastic is not unlimited. So when we heard that the target of using 100% of recycled plastic, it is a target that is not so easy to achieve. And the second point is that recycled plastic doesn't give the same performance of a pure virgin material. So in doing this, we are addressing a lot of requests that is coming from our customers in suggesting the usage of partially recycled material for plastic, mainly to guarantee two aspects. First, the continuous availability of raw material for them, for producing their parts, and on the other hand, to guarantee a level of performance that is not the same of a pure material, but is close to the performance of a virgin material. And this is the trend. This is what we are promoting. We need also to consider that a lot has to be done also from a certification point of view, both in the supply chain and both in the product. So we need to use approved resources that has a certain kind of certification. And of course, we are working also to guarantee through EPD certification, GRS certification, the sustainability of our products.
Thank you, Alessandro. We talked about speed. Francesca, would you please let us know from a supplier standpoint, how do you cope with the speed of the Chinese market, which is apparently much faster than European markets? How does that affect your product management?
Let me introduce this topic that is very hot because we are living a changing in the development and in design concept. We are an Italian company, right? And as parts of automotive field, we learn and we grow up with the guideline. It was a master coming from the three giants that is Chrysler, Ford, and GM, that is the APQP procedure. And this kind of procedure was focusing in developing feasibility, study, testing, all of the components and the system with taking a lot of time in also making prototype and testing. The aim of this kind of phase was to arrive at a certain level of confidence that the design was robust enough and the quality was guaranteed for a long duration of the vehicle that was supposed to be around more or less 10 years. Now situation is completely changed because today we are facing a request coming from the new car maker, but also is maybe something specific for China market, to be fast, to be ready to have a product in mass production in less than 1 year, while before the development was around 2-3 years. It means that the design that before was under a big big focusing in terms of also prototype and validation, today is practically the reduce of a simulation. So what is changing? It's changing that we kick off, we launch products which should be followed later on always when there is the first approach on, let me say, the assembly in the car, and even when the car is on the market. The attention that we have now, and also the car maker, and follow up constantly this kind of evolution. So we don't make anymore a design frozen to be 100% robust before launching for the mass production of product. But we follow the development of a product or a system forever until the car is going to be stable, but after a year, let me say, in mass production and to the final user. So this kind of concept that is really very focusing mainly for the Chinese car maker, because they was since like that years, frankly speaking. It's not just a trend of electrification. It was already started with the old industrial combustion engine. In this case, is aspirated. So we should, at this moment, as a components maker for the new BEV, focusing in following our customer, not just for the first phase on development, but for all of the vehicle production. And this is a mindset change for us. It's also an opportunity to improve always the quality of the vehicle, and it gives us the feasibility also and the visibility to follow this kind of adventure together with the car maker, not only of our product, but on the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. So co-partnering, speed, new materials, new R&D, how does affect this in terms of product and R&D for Brembo? Andrea.
Yeah, the speed is just pushing one effect, and it is the localization of the R&D and the advanced R&D here locally here in China. We are starting the project to open a brand new technical center to serve the Chinese market, and it will be ready in almost 10 months from now. It will be an R&D that will employ roughly 150 talents, and among which the most part will be dedicated to the software analysis, software development for our new line of product that will be in the market in 2024 and 2024, beginning 2025, that is called Sensify. For what concern, this will help us to answer, as Francesca was mentioning before, the increased request of the Chinese clients to have the ability for us to develop a product in less than 1 year. Okay. Second point is we also, and then I'm connecting about the Radici intervention. Okay, so we have a verticalized production in China. So we buy scrap steel, we buy aluminum, we buy other ferroalloys, and we melt them, and we assemble our product here. So we are very much sensible to the raw material market prices. What does it mean? This it means that most of our profits are generated if we are able to manage this specificity. So in terms of other production factors, some utilities like the price of the gas and the price of the electricity that, thanks God, in China is pretty much stable, even if it is higher compared to the last 2 months, 2 years, sorry, or compared to Europe or other area of the world. So specifically, we are tentatively not accepting any business that doesn't have in the contract a mechanism that is automatic, so that is bidirectional, to update on a quarterly basis or on a half a year basis the selling price of our products to our clients. it's also true that we are using our brand to do that, and this helps a lot. I also recognize that if a company doesn't have a strong brand, is very much, or reputation is very much harder to have the customer pay for that. With two specific specification, the traditional customer, we can call them like this, like the Germans, in particular Daimler and BMW, are very much used to this mechanism, and they're not really questioning it because they know that it's, in my opinion, a sign of partnership of the supplier with the customer. Nevertheless, the Chinese customer tend to be not really into that, okay? Especially the most aggressive one, like Geely Group, for example, okay, that are not really recognizing this to their suppliers. So we are for some of them we are indeed struggling, but it's also true that we can reach agreement. This way, we can generally protect our profitability for the disc and for the caliper for passenger vehicle. Different is the market of the motorbike here in China. We have one factory in Zhejiang that is producing this because this market is even at higher speed compared to the passenger car market. So it means that the let's say the time to market for a production can vary between 1 month and 3 months, and with very limited series. That implies that a very strong standardization, and I'm connecting what Francesca was saying before, it's a must for us. And very slightly, let's say, and I'm quoting, let's say, personalization on that. From China, we serve 60% in export, okay, especially for some US customers, so that's fine. But in China, we have, for example, CF Moto, that is one of the leading motorbike brands and producer here in China, and they are not really into recognizing any raw material price adjustment or any utility price adjustment to that. So that implies that in China, more than other part of the Brembo group, the sales team and let's say the relationship with the customers becomes also another point that is helpful in order to let's say protect the profitability of the company.
Thank you. If I can summarize a little bit up to now, is we're not looking at an evolution of the market, but we're looking at a real revolution. If I remember when I was younger, we used to play with cars, and hear the roar of the engine was something that everybody yearned for. Are we going to hit the silent button, the mute button, Alessandro? And are we going to not hear that roar anymore, especially from Maserati, that is a sports car?
And our customer concern, when we started to face this challenge of adopting full electric powertrains. You know, every challenge is embraced in Maserati with respect, but also with the courage and determination, also knowing that we can rely on our great sound engineers. They already faced something similar when 10 years ago we moved from aspirated engine, the iconic V8 aspirated engine, to twin turbo engine with no regret at all, because we could keep exactly the same roar that you mentioned before. Now the challenge is even harder, but they are doing really a great job because they are working with the inverter of the 3 electric motors, shaping digitally the sound and combining the iconic V8 sound that we mentioned before with the typical sound of electric engines. And I know it will be a success. It's a way of embracing challenges with the technology that we have available, with keeping the tradition, of course, and I'm sure it will be a success also, this new challenge. Actually, the Gran Turismo that is already used by our engineers around the world proves that the sound is still a very typical Maserati sound. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro. Well, I wouldn't be doing justice to IDI if we didn't talk a little bit about sustainability. So since we have another 10 minutes in our talk, I would just like to go briefly through all of our panelists, 2 minutes each, to talk about what your brand is doing for sustainability, of what it represents, since e-vehicles are essentially sustainable, carbon neutral, or low carbon footprint. So ladies first, let's start from Francesca.
UFI already applied last year a kind of corporate program in which all of our plants, our office, and also our supplier are involved in this big topic. So carbon neutralization is a must for the future. So we're already working in all of our supply chain to try to reduce as much as we can. And you can understand also that what now we are doing is put in place products that are for electrification. So we are inside the BEV. So this is our aim for the future, to try to provide a product that can be applied in vehicle which is in the direction of the carbon free. We are also applying our new plants, renew resources, so renew energy, and our aim is always to go in this direction. Of course, there are many steps to do. It's a long process because the target in any case is reached in the next 2050. So it's a long process, but we already started last year to move in this direction, and I think we are doing, because we already parts in the vehicle that is BEV, which are in this optic the future for the car industry.
Thank you, Francesca. Wallace, how does sustainability in Comau match?
I think 3 points. First is for NEV. Comau is, I think, the main production system supplier for NEV in China and also around the world. In China, if there is 5 million car annually produced in China, I think half of them is done by Comau production system. So it means 2.5 million car is produced by Comau equipment. So this is the first. I think this is one contribution. Second contribution is Comau also working very hard to do the smart manufacturing system for renewable energy, other industries such as wind energy, solar energy, and long term before we have nuclear energy. This kind of we do the manufacturing system also for this kind of renewable energy segment. This is second point. I think this is also contribution for the carbon. Third point is Comau Shanghai plant. Several years ago, we already used the solar energy to supply our electric facility in Comau plant. And our roof are all covered by the solar energy panel. So I think this is 3 point is what I summarized for Comau. Thank you.
Thank you, Wallace. Andrea, what about Brembo? In terms of sustainability?
Yes, in terms of sustainability, Brembo is very much active in that. Okay, it's very much active in all its plants around the world, and in all its 15,000 people who are, let's say, the team and the backbone of the group. We can say that we are focused in two main action. Okay, first one is related to the reduction of the carbon emission in each of our plants and production. Since the group started to be very much involved in this kind of corporate social responsibility, and in particular in the environment, we consistently reduced the CO2 emission of 29 percentage points in 6 years. And then we equip all our plant with the systems that prevent the, let's say, the extra usage of electricity and gas. Okay. Not only what we do is we only use, in particular for the disc production and the floating caliper production, only recycle waste materials. So we're not going to buy freshly mined iron ore, but we're going to buy this kind of materials that then can create a sort of circular economy. For what concern the environment, to stay, and I'm also staying there. Another project that we started specifically in India, but also here in China, is the reduction and the rationalization of our water usage. Being water, what we think one of the most scarce resources, not only in the nearest future, but in the long run. Most of people is engaged in programs related to the environment in our group. Some of them are, let's say, very much iconic, like each person in Brembo has its own dedicated tree in one forest with his own name, and this is super good, and it has been very much accepted by the person. My tree is in Kenya. I would like to go there and visit, because it would be also a nice trip to visit a new country, right?
But, that's very interesting.
Yes, and but on the other side, we're also starting to use some, let's say, financial tools to try to buy and sell some carbon, let's say, titles, credits, okay, to make sure that overall we are contributing to the reduction of the carbon emission. The goal for our group is to be totally carbon neutral by 2040. It seems so much ahead in time, but Brembo is operating since 1961, so more than 60 years, and we want to operate other 60 years. So I think this is a goal that we can achieve. Maybe not.
We wish you luck.
Maybe 2030. Thank you very much.
Now, Radici had touched briefly on sustainability during his talk about nylon and products. Would you please tell us very shortly, because time is running out on us, what...
As group, we are publishing every year a sustainability report, and this year there was in the first page a sentence of our president who was saying that a sustainable future belongs to those who make it happen, not to those who just imagine. So, and in his vision, the sustainability has started many years ago. Already 40 years ago, we were producing engineering plastic starting from using fiber scraps. 15 years ago, we acquired a company called GeoGreen in Italy that is producing green energy starting from hydroelectric. So all our plants are using green energy produced in Italy, and more than 50% of the energy that we use worldwide is coming from renewable sources. In 2020, we created Radici Innova, that is an idea incubator that works on sustainable-oriented projects involving stakeholders like universities or other companies. Then I will say, as a last point, we are just building our new factory here in China, and we made the decision to certify this new factory according to the American standard LEED and the Chinese standard GBDL to make us a green building. So these are only few of many activities that the group is working on.
Thank you, Alessandro. Let's go to Viola Alessandro now. Maserati and sustainability. You talked about electrification by 2025. What else can you tell us about sustainability in Maserati?
As we said, in 2025, our plan is to have for each Maserati model an equivalent with the full electric engine, and by 2030, move definitively to full electric powertrains. So we are strongly committed and respect the environment and contribute as much as possible to keep the world we live as clean as possible. On the other side, you know that the batteries are also a big source of pollution. We have just signed a contract with one of the largest players in China for battery recycling that can guarantee to us to recycle up to 98% of the material in a battery. So this is an additional contribution to have a clean environment.
And a green planet. So thank you very much to all our icons that have participated today to this IDI talk. Thank you to IDI. And we look forward to see the next chapter in this revolution of NEVs. Thank you very much for participating today.